Now, here's my thing, and I'm just going to take this a completely different way. Especially with the off-season, how do you keep up to what you're supposed to do in terms of content and what you post up? Like, how far off the beaten path can you go, or do you want to go in order to make sure that you keep up the same thing you had during the season, like the same amount of quantity?
But I think you just admit you collapse. Like, everyone knows you're kind of spent off season.
It does. I mean, there are going to be up times and down times. I mean, clearly until the middle of July, I mean, you post as much as you post in the regular season. Right. There's always news. When we get towards like end of July, August, you have to be a little bit more creative. Last year we did the 5 things I changed about the NHL story that a lot of people contributed to. We have a really killer idea for August this year. I'm not going to reveal it yet.
Tell me!
No, not yet. It's good though. It's
all right. The show won't be up till August.
Don't wreck the reveal.
No, it's good. It's good. You get more creative, but again, it also allows you the opportunity to do some interesting stuff, like explore some issues, talk to some people you might not necessarily talk to otherwise. It challenges you to keep hockey relevant at a time when everybody wants to be at the beach.
Right.
And I think we were able to do it pretty well last year, here and there. Not all the time.
Well, I think you were, in your case, you were also trying to find your niche because you just started up like a couple
we started
before that.
Yeah, we started in April.
Yeah.
It was kind of random. It seemed like it's like, whoa.
Yeah, it was a hockey blog and the playoffs were beginning.
They hired me in April because we had been going back and forth about salary. And
you get salary?
I do. It's true.
I thought you just got salary, and I thought you were just really healthy. And here I am.
And finally, it got settled, and we were in the first round of the playoffs. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Nothing like launching a blog in Game 2. So, but you make the point that like last August, I was still posting like 6 to 10 stories a day, and I learned a harsh lesson, which is that in August, everybody who's connected to hockey is either fishing or at the beach. There ain't nobody doing work.
The third group, we're all like, we have the countdown calendar when camp starts.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're just like sitting in a bar, like talking about the past season and like playing with the roster in our head because we're psychotic.
Now that said though, it's the summer is a great time for hockey writing, I think, because it allows you to be a little bit more creative with stuff. Like I said, I mean, the speculation really gets going. You get to just explore some stuff that you don't get to do in the regular season because there's always stuff to write about.
Well, and this is the thing. It depends also on what it is that you're covering because again, the bread and butter for me has always been trading free agents. And during the summer, I mean, there's always plenty going on. For me, there's not an off season. I mean, the assumption that I get from people is, well, now that the playoffs are over, you must be able to go and relax. It's like, you kidding?
Yeah, I hate my parents for saying that.
Yeah, the busiest time of the year for me is June, July, and August. I was telling you guys this last night that the busiest time those are the busiest times of the year for me for the line for what I do, this type of work that I do. Because of course you got because there's the draft and all the trades. There's the draft and the trades, and then of course free agency, and that first week is just batshit crazy, and signings will happen, or sometimes even a trade that nobody saw coming, and then the next thing you know, just as August rolls around, now we're into arbitration, and sometimes out of that comes some interesting stories. Like remember what happened with the Sabres here a couple of years ago? They lost a couple of players because they weren't going to. They said nope. They walked away from arbitration. Before I know it, the next thing we know, now it's into September training camp, and because of the salary cap. Now you're seeing teams that are juggling, and you're starting to see more trade activity. Where things slow down for me and shut down with a bang as far as that part goes, trading free agency, is when the season starts. Because thanks to the salary cap now, the first 2 months, nothing. It's Death Valley out
on Puck Daddy, the biggest concern, the biggest headache for me is the slow news day contingent, where like if you write something, you're like, nice article, slow news day. And I'm like, yeah, because it's August.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sending you pictures of Sean Avery in a nice
suit. I was going to say that, girl. Like, the summer is the time when like we found out that Sean Avery was going to be in the Internet Vogue.
I had a field day with that.
You know what I mean?
It's like
this really quirky. It's almost like you stop talking about what happens on the ice, and then the really interesting stuff comes. Zetterberg using the Stanley Cup as a baptismal font.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That's stuff you want to know.
Yeah, it's human interest. The summer is for human interest.
Because now you get to
By
see
the way,
players.
Sidney Crosby sleeping with the Stanley Cup, kind of dirty.
I told you.
And was the guy that was keeping the cup like sitting in the corner taking pictures?
Foot of the bed.
like a loyal dog should.
They're into cup.
Not until you pop the question.
Well,
I mean, that brings up another thing is that you guys have always been like at large, right? Like have you ever covered like one team just specifically?
No.
No?
I mean, I wrote about the Caps for a newspaper, but it wasn't on like a game-by-game basis. Yeah. No, I kind of envy that a little bit because like being at the draft and seeing guys that write for like the Columbus Dispatch have a very singular focus about what they do at the draft. Like I was running all over the place trying to get whatever I could.
Right.
But to be the guy who's there to cover the Blue Jackets or the Rangers or whatever, and just know I need to talk to prospects X, Y, and Z, find out who they are.
Right.
And I mean that's kind of it's kind of nice.
And I bring that up because Carl, you got your one team, and then in the off season it's nothing. Like how do you get that? How do you get the motivation?
Well,
that
Brian Burke
downtime
now as a general manager, is there really going to be nothing? I don't think so.
I mean, even with the Chiefs, how do you, if you don't write for a long time, how do you get the motivation again to get back into it?
For me, it's just in me. Like, I mean, prior to writing about hockey, I've always written in a blog on a daily basis. I've been doing it for like 8 years, so for me, it's nothing.
Okay.
But like, for the most part, you know, you run over the talent, run over like who's going to be captain, what are we doing with overagers. I mean, the commenters will direct me. They'll find stories for me. Like, I'd probably die without them, and they just keep me going.
That's a very good point because
like the
that I found
commentators
as
are
well
so
too.
loyal. Like when they thought I was getting sued, they were writing letters and like they
Isn't that
had me.
It was also a
100%.
PM Dawn song, Die Without You.
Wow.
But it is
that was made
point,
before
though.
she-
It's a terrific point that you made because I've had like people who have written comments and that, and they've made suggestions going, you know, hey, why don't you, think about
like,
this or that, and I would say, you know, I never thought of that. Hey, that's a great idea. So yeah,
Like I'll
take
just
it, run
turn
with
them
it.
loose. I'm like, you want to write about that? I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, go for it.
Yeah. It's a great way for fan interaction, which you see a lot more of with blogs than you would in traditional media.
But like, we're gonna do like offbeat stuff. Like they want to do
Yeah.
like cupcake swaps. I'm like, let's do it. Like that's what you get when you hang with my